Imagine this. You wake up one day and everything feels off. Not in a dramatic, world-ending way, but in a quiet, unsettling way that's hard to put into words. You go about your usual routine, get dressed, head to work, chat with friends, yet there's an eerie hollowness beneath it all. It's as though you're watching yourself from the outside, playing a role you never consciously chose. The strangest part, you can't even remember when the act began. You scroll through social media, bombarded with people showing off their authentic selves, the fitness gurus, the digital nomads, the motivational speakers telling you to be yourself. But a haunting question lingers in the back of your mind. What if the self you're trying to find doesn't exist? We're told from childhood that there's a true, unique version of us buried deep within, that if we search long enough, we'll uncover the person we're meant to be. But what if that's a lie? What if the self you believe you're chasing is nothing more than a collection of external influences? Your parents' expectations, society's values, the roles you're praised for playing. Think about it. How much of your identity is truly yours, and how much is a patchwork of borrowed beliefs and conditioned behaviors? If you strip away everything you've been told you are, your job, your gender, your culture, even your name, what's left? And here's the real paradox. What if the more you search for your true self, the further you drift from it? The search for authenticity might not lead to freedom. It might lead to an even deeper illusion. So, why do most people never find their true self? Let's uncover the hidden forces shaping this quiet tragedy. The truth is, most people don't find their true self, not because they don't search hard enough, but because they're unknowingly searching in the wrong place. From the moment we're born, we inherit identities before we even understand what identity means. Our parents give us a name, a culture, a religion, a set of beliefs. Society rewards us when we conform, when we're obedient, agreeable, productive. Every good job and pat on the back reinforces the idea that we're only valuable when we fit into a pre-approved mold. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to navigate the social world. It's not inherently bad, we need it to survive. But the problem arises when we mistake the mask for the self. Over time, the mask fuses so tightly to our skin that we forget it's even there. We become actors in a script we never wrote. Nietzsche warned of this too. He spoke of the herd, the collective force that pressures us to think, feel, and behave like everyone else. To break free from the herd, he argued, one must become the Übermensch, the overman who creates their own values, their own truth. But how many people dare to defy the herd when belonging feels safer than authenticity? Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre added another brutal layer to this. He argued that existence precedes essence. We're not born with a pre-made self. We exist first and only later define who we are. But instead of embracing this terrifying freedom, most people run from it. They accept pre-packaged identities because the weight of creating their own feels unbearable. And Viktor Frankl, a man who survived Auschwitz, believed that those who endure life's harshest trials aren't the ones clinging to an idea of who they are, but the ones who find meaning beyond themselves. He argued that true selfhood is not about self-discovery, but self-transcendence, the ability to live for something greater than the ego. So if our very concept of self is shaped by forces outside our control, how can we ever tell what's real and what's an illusion? The consequences of this hidden problem run deeper than you think. Let's explore what happens when people spend their entire lives chasing a version of themselves that may not even exist. Imagine waking up decades from now, only to realize you've built your entire life on a version of yourself that wasn't truly yours. The career you chose, the relationships you built, even the dreams you chased, all driven by an identity shaped by others. This is the silent tragedy of an unlived life, not dying, but realizing you never truly lived as you. The consequences of not finding your true self aren't always loud or obvious. They're subtle, creeping in through dissatisfaction, anxiety, and that unshakable feeling that something is missing, even when everything looks fine on the surface. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mental conflict that arises when your actions don't align with your authentic self. The longer you live in this false identity, the more your mind distorts reality to convince you that you're happy. You tell yourself, this is just how life is, or I should be grateful for what I have. But beneath the surface, the tension builds. Society plays a role in keeping you trapped too. Cultural norms and social pressures reward conformity and punish individuality. You're encouraged to pursue success, wealth, and status, not because they align with who you are, but because they validate your worth in the eyes of others. The world doesn't ask, who are you? It asks, what can you produce? Even more dangerous is the way we internalize this. Over time, we start to police ourselves. We silence our own desires, calling them impractical or selfish. We wear our masks so long they feel like skin. But the most painful consequence? Regret. Not the regret of things you did, but the regret of never becoming who you were meant to be. So, how do you break free from this invisible prison? Let's find out. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind whipping against your face. Behind you is everything you've ever known, the identities shaped by society, family, and fear. In front of you, the unknown. Your true self is out there waiting. But to reach it, you have to let go of everything that's holding you back. The first step is radical honesty, not with the world, but with yourself. Ask, who would I be if no one were watching? Strip away the labels, student, employee, partner, parent, and get to the core. What thoughts, desires, and dreams remain when no one else's expectations are involved? The truth might scare you, but that's a sign you're getting closer. Next comes rebellion, not against society, but against the false self you've built. Carl Jung believed that true individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self, requires confronting your shadow, the parts of you that you suppress because they don't fit the image you present to the world. Your anger, desires, fears, and flaws, they're all part of you. Reclaim them. Then, stop chasing validation. Friedrich Nietzsche argued that most people live as part of the herd, seeking comfort in conformity. To break free, you must embrace what he called the will to power, the drive to create your own values and define your own life's meaning. This means accepting that you may disappoint others, lose relationships, or face rejection. Freedom always comes with a price. But the greatest breakthrough? Realizing that finding your true self isn't a destination, it's a lifelong journey. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and renowned psychiatrist, believed that meaning is something we create, not something we find. Every choice you make, every fear you face, shapes your authentic self. So the question is no longer, who am I? But who am I willing to become? The path to your true self won't be easy. It's uncomfortable, uncertain, and often lonely. But the alternative, living a life that isn't truly yours, is far worse. The journey begins the moment you decide to stop running from yourself. Will you take that first step?